Let's go to the law on public corporations. What is a public corporation? It is an entity formed or organized for the government of a portion of the state. This entity, the public corporation, acts as part of the structure and the powers of the government. So, what this may include local government units, no? So, what are the elements of a, for example, a municipal corporation now? Um, a corporation has the following elements. It should be created legally, a legal creation or incorporation, a corporate name by which the artificial personality or legal entity is known and which all corporate acts are done. This is its identifiability. There should be inhabitants consisting the population who are invested with the political and corporate powers which are enacted through the duly constituted officers and agents. Place or territory within which the local civil government and corporate functions are exercised. Um, what are the functions or the dual nature of municipal corporations? Municipal corporations may be governmental, performing acts which are governmental or proprietary. Well, we know this very well. Governmental acts primarily are immune from suit, while proprietary acts are acts where, if done by the state, may be the state opening itself up to lawsuits. These governmental acts are such acts which the state can perform alone, while proprietary acts are acts of which may be shared by private entities. Governmental acts are acts as where a municipal corporation acts as an agent of the state um, within the municipal limits. Proprietary acts, they perform functions not strictly governmental or political. Okay. What are the requisites for the incorporation of a municipal corporation? You have territory, population, and charter. So these requisites, you see it here in the list of the elements of a municipal corporation. There's a place or territory, there are inhabitants, and there's the legal creation, the charter. No? So um, how um, how are local government units created? Well, by law. But what kind of law? Could be by statute or by ordinance. A statute can create a province, a city, municipality, or other political subdivisions, even a barangay. But an ordinance is passed by the sanggunian could create a barangay within the territorial limits of the LGU. So when does corporate existence begin? Corporate existence commences upon the election and qualification of the chief executive and the majority of the members of the sanggunian unless some other time is fixed by law or ordinance creating it, meaning its corporation or corporate existence um, comes into being when they are already organized by the selection or election of such public officers. Public LGUs enjoy local autonomy. Local autonomy can be considered as a measure of decentralization of the functions of government. Under the principle of local autonomy and decentralization, LGU has now more powers and authority and responsibilities and resources. So LGUs are better equipped because power has been brought down to them, authority has been brought down to them. What is this decentralization? It is the devolution of the national administration, not power. Okay, so what is decentralized is administration but not power to the local levels, in which local officials remain accountable to the central government, of course, in the manner that maybe the law would allow, no, or in the manner that the law may be providing for, no. So spreading out of responsibilities, but there's still accountability with the national government. What are the levels of decentralization? Could be administrative autonomy. Um, that's the first one. The central government delegates administrative powers to the political subdivisions. Its purpose is to broaden the local power base, make the units more responsive and accountable, ensure the full development of the LGUs into self-reliant communities, break the monopoly of the national government over managing local affairs, and relieves the national government from the burden of managing local affairs. So it's spreading out the responsibility and the accountability, empowering the LGUs, no, in administration of within its territory. There's such a thing also as we call a political autonomy. It involves the abdication of political power in favor of the LGU. It would amount to a self-immolation because the autonomous government would know or would become accountable to its constituency, not the central government. So this concept of devolution mentioned earlier refers to the act by which the national government confers power and authority over the various LGUs to perform specific functions and responsibilities. Yung pagbaba ng kapangyarihan to the lower levels, which are the LGUs. No? So, remember this concept, the extent of the power of the president. The president of the Philippines shall exercise general supervision over local government or local governance or local governments. That's in Section 4 of Article 10. The same with the autonomous regions in Section 13. You recall also this concept of control and supervision. The distinction between control and supervision is that control, of course, includes supervision, but supervision is subordinate to control, because in control, there's the power to substitute or override, while supervision, none, only oversee. That's why you have this case also of the National Liga ng mga Barangay versus Paredes, where the Supreme Court mentioned that even the DILG secretary under the qualified political agency doctrine is under the president's authority and represents the president, has no authority over the National Liga ng mga Barangay because of the autonomy of the LGUs. Here, it's the barangays that enjoy such autonomy. What are the powers of the LGU? Does the LGU have police power? Basically, it has no inherent police power. Police power is not inherent in the municipal corporation. However, its police power may be granted under the General Welfare Clause under the Local Government Code, which states that every local government unit shall exercise the powers expressly granted. The local government unit shall exercise the powers expressly granted, those necessarily implied therefrom, as well as the powers necessary, appropriate, or incidental for the efficient and effective governance, and for those which are essential to the promotion of the general welfare. So by implication, they are given by statute, no, the local government code of such police powers, but it has no inherent police power. How about eminent domain? Of course, the local government code also provides for power of eminent domain to the local governments. No, they act through the chief executive, the local chief executive, through an ordinance. They may expropriate, but the expropriation must be for public purpose or use, or for the poor and the homeless. And the consideration of just compensation must not be forgotten. No? So there must be an ordinance, should be for public use, there must be just compensation, and there must be a valid and definite offer to pay, which is not accepted. Okay. Is national approval required for exercise of this power of eminent domain? No. The approval of the national government is not required of local governments to exercise the power of eminent domain. Okay. Autonomy. Okay. How about taxation? The power to tax of the LGU is pursuant to the a legislative act. The LGUs have no inherent power to tax. Their power must be yielding from a congressional act. And since the power comes from the Constitution, look at this provision, ha? The power grants the power of taxation granted to the LGUs and the role of Congress. Each local government unit shall have the power to create its own resources of revenues, to levy taxes, fees, and charges. And this is the catchphrase, subject to such guidelines and limitations as the Congress may provide. Okay, so Congress puts a leash on the power of taxation by the local governments. How about legislative power? Of course, they have legislative power. The local chief executive has the power to approve an ordinance enacted by the council. And this is the process. An ordinance is proposed, the local chief executive receives the proposal. The proposal is either approved and the local chief executive signs it and every page thereof. If it's vetoed, he must return the veto with a veto message to the Sanggunian of Origin, but the Sanggunian of Origin may override the veto by 2/3 vote. The grounds for the veto are following: that the ordinance is ultra vires and prejudicial to public interests. So these reasons must be stated in the veto message. Other corporate powers or the corporate powers of the local governments are the following. They have the power to the continuous succession in its corporate name, meaning continued existence, no? Or identifiability, to sue and be sued, to have and use a corporate seal, to acquire and convey real or personal property, to enter into contracts, and to exercise such other powers as are granted to corporations. Ito yung shotgun, no? Broad grant of power, subject to such limitations provided in the code and other laws. So that ends the review for public corporations. Again, reference must be made to previous lectures and please don't hesitate to pause this video if you need to look at your notes. And this video is only for review. It's not intended for to be a first-time lecture for law students. So thank you for viewing and good luck.